All right, what's up, guys? I just wanted to do a live update. I like to do my videos live on this fly because it's difficult to find time to write scripts, and by the time I write a script nowadays, everything's changed so much that it's no point in doing video anymore. So I just like to do things live. What the heck is going on? Why do I got a spoiler alert? An error occurred. Anyone, can everyone see me? Can people, I don't know if it's just a playback or I can't take, anyways, if you guys are still watching and you can see me, I think this stream should still be going. It says it's still going. I'm going to, I don't need the live playback anyway. It's disruptive because there's a delay in it. So anyways, if you guys are still watching and I'm still there, I haven't been cut off, I wanted to kind of give a spoiler on all the stuff that's coming out next month. There's been a bunch of tweets on and just information going around and just in general on social media about To the Stars Academy and this new History Channel TV show that's coming out. I had a buddy just text me this morning. He's like, it's all over the news. The news was covering it. I guess the local news up here in Boston was covering the UFO stuff. So it's getting out there. The Space Force has been created. I still stand by my whole that video that I posted with Dr. Carol Rawson, who's like one of my favorite Disclosure Project witnesses. She was in the top levels of NASA, right in with the Operation Paperclip elements, like Werner von Braun, her main person at NASA that she was under, and she talks about the whole idea of that the alien thing. I just worry that my whole thing is that I've learned so much about this now that I worry that the government's using this. I question their motives. So I kind of know what should be coming out. What I hope is coming out in this Discovery Channel, this new History Channel thing that's coming out in the next couple weeks. On I don't know how soon the episodes are going to be back to back, week after week, if they're already made, if they decided to release it this way in a mainstream media publication, just on mainstream news, and this is just that they're prepping people up for it with the news. But it's basically the warp drive stuff, the same stuff. The two Lockheed Skunkworks guys that they got is Steve Justice and Hal Puthoff. Hal Puthoff's really the theorist guy on their team, and Hal Puthoff worked for years with a corporation called EarthTech.org. You guys, I'm sure, have heard of this stuff before. Those who have done their research and stuff will probably be a little bit, maybe learn a little bit of something new. But this is more for middle level research people who are into this. But anyways, this EarthTech.org, very interesting. This was Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis. I think it still is. I think they still operate together. But this is the guy who joins To the Stars Academy, and this is their main guy. You can read all his papers. He wrote a whole bunch of papers. I first discovered his paper, his first paper actually, back in the day through. Hold up. I have to find this now. Through Stan Romanek, who I met at a UFO conference, and he had written these equations, these mystery equations, and said that they were the equations for space travel and for warp drive and for crossing the universe and how they get, from point A to point B. That's what the aliens supposedly gave him, and I went and looked up these equations, and I found out that's how I found Hal's papers, because I was looking at this kind of math up, and this is what I found when I was searching for things related to this. So this is Hal's paper, and you can find a lot of Hal's papers. I'm going to post a bunch of Hal's papers, the ones that are public. There's still a couple things that are classified that these two have written on their team. Eric Davis is now teamed up with this other organization called the Tau Zero Foundation, which is interesting. This guy Mark Millis, Jeff Greason, and Dr. Andrew Aldrin, Rod Pyle, William Tosky. But the subject matter experts they list is this guy Dr. Mark Weber and Eric W. Davis, PhD. This is the main guy from. So it's like a small circle of people that are all doing this warp drive stuff, and I think they're trying to bring it out to the public. These are the guys that are I think have been involved in some of the top secret research into this for what I think Ben Rich was talking about when he said we have the technology to bring ET home. I think this is the kind of stuff that he was talking about that they were breaking into, and these were the guys who were hired to work on it and were doing the contract work on it for the government. A lot of some of the Eric Davis's papers are still classified and you can't get them. But in any case, I just wanted to kind of release some of that information and say what they were going to talk about. What they were actually going to talk about was polaritons. Polaritons are it's like a quantum. It's like a what light does. It polarizes matter when it polarizes things, and it's about this whole idea of vacuum energy density and polarizing this vacuum energy density. And the way to do that is with using what are called polariton exciton states and phonon lasers. And basically these metamaterials are these materials that they're going to talk about and bring out and talk and really do a whole expose on, which if you haven't invested in metamaterials, every cent that you have right now, I think you should do so, even just to sell it afterward and then reinvest. Because after this program hits and they drop all this stuff on metamaterials, I think stocks and like those kind of related things are really going to go through, really going to see an increase. So just a tip to my audience, you guys, I appreciate you, and I can't believe that I only have 45 people watching me on every Friday night. I guess everyone's out partying or watching other channels. But anyways, you always get top-notch information here. I, of course, am the alien scientist, and I do all kinds of science research into. I mean, my real thing is the technology, man. I've been into UFOs so long that I know that it doesn't matter how many what you can debate with anyone. Like scientists are not going to be convinced of anything but the technology, and we really ought to be after the technology, really going after the technology. Which I really hope that this isn't that this stuff is for real, that it's not bunk, but these perfect lenses is what I was talking about with metamaterials. It's basically like I have an interesting sheet that's almost like a metamaterial. It could be a metamaterial. It's these optical materials where they build these crystals at the nano level, where the crystals can be either graphene is a good one because the graphene's like super small and it makes these super small, super fine crystal lattices. But it's basically like these. You could take these materials and layer them. There's all kinds of pictures of this stuff I can get that are probably better than that. But you can get these types of grid-like patterns. The symmetries do weird things on the quantum level because quantum mechanics is of course very mathematical and run by and does interesting things based on these symmetries. And understanding these symmetries will lead us to all kinds of new technologies as far as but warp drive is a little bit as a state beyond, which I think is I think it has to do with antimatter and these perfect lenses and focusing and these phonon lasers, and basically, and also that quantum eraser effect of like shooting a ghost image to a location at the speed of light, and then switching the two so that it's like effectively a warp. It's a, or I think more what these things do though is they create a they actually create a bubble at the front of the craft and shift the energy density. So they essentially polarize the vacuum, so that it changes the speed of light. It changes the physical properties of light within that part of that region of space. Literally bends all of light around the craft and makes the craft invisible to light, and effectively invisible to the known universe, because it's like it's encapsulated in this bubble, which it's essentially puts it in this warp state, and you go and that's essentially warp. But I wanted to also talk about well, that's another cool thing, but Google, this was recently released on May 28th, 2019. Google's $10 million cold fusion project failed. Apparently, Google invested $10 million into quite a number, 30 researchers, about 30 researchers, it says, in labs across the globe. I wish it listed which researchers they funded and what their research was and where I could find their papers. But it just, I can't find much more on it. I've been trying to get the papers, but all I find is like more just like a circular. It's just a circular saying that, like, oh, these fusion experiments failed and it's a pipe dream, and we're trying to make a practical fusion reactor with hot fusion. It's basically another plug for hot fusion. And these giant tokamak reactors that they're trying to build now, that they've in these stabilized plasmas, which are interesting, and I think it could be another way to another route to the gamut. But I think cold fusion is ultimately a better product in the long run, and I have a whole page on cold fusion here for you guys to check out from my trips up to MIT, and I have copies of the lectures that I attended, where they have an IAP course where they go over all the real core science of these experiments. The real main thing is that the calorimetry, how to measure the heat, is there problems with heat, and how to build more efficient reactors, ideas for more efficient reactors and stuff. But this is the real nuts and bolts of it right here. This would, if you could find this data on all those experiments that Google did, this will tell you why, if they were legit or not, because these were the MIT and Caltech replications right here that failed to produce cold fusion, right? They didn't produce anything. So these are all the experiments that have been done, and the probability rate of finding excess heat, and the excess heat right here. So it says that about right around 95% loading is when you have the maximum, bell in that bell curve, if there is we're perceiving a curve there. And they did not get high enough loading of, like, it's basically you're loading a cathode and you charge this cathode with I think negative or negative, and the positive ions will come off and go into the cathode and build up on there. And what they'll do is it pulls. You need to pull enough of it out to reach this high enough loading in order to get the effect. And basically all the experiments that have been done did not reach a high enough loading. There were problems with the cathodes, or problems with just the experimental setup and their understanding of the science. Again, I have videos that go over all this and go into detail from experts that can explain this a lot better than I can, but at least I'm pointing you in the right direction of where to go to find the information. Coldfusionnow.org is another great source of information. But this is basically the nuts and bolts of it. Is show me the data on what they're loading that they got and how they took track of it, and that's all covered in. I have a real good video, right? I think it's by Mitchell Schwartz. I don't know if it's right here or what, but there's one of them on here where it just talks about the he has a 1D loading model with an equation to show you how to calculate the loading, and you go by that. And if you use his model to figure out your loading and you make sure your loading is right, then you should get the effect if in the 95% range. You need to get this thing fully loaded, full of like these things need to be jam packed in there for them to start being crystallized or lattice assisted nuclear reactions. I like to call it crystallic fusion because I of course am a father and my kid watches Toy Story. Toy Story 4 is coming out now. We just bought him Woody and Buzz. But Toy Story is friggin', he watches it every night to go to bed. And so like I see that part where Buzz Lightyear first is introduced over and over again. And in that part he says, oh, do you still use fossil fuels or have you discovered crystallic fusion? Is one of the things he says. And I always thought that was neat because I still have hope for cold fusion or crystallic fusion, and I think that our understanding of crystals and things at the quantum level and also quantum mechanics are not quite at the level we think they are, and we like to brag and hold our heads up high and say that, you know, oh, we spent 10 million and we debunked cold fusion again. You know, come on, guys, really? Like, show me the science. All I see is a circular. Like, this is like This is like oil company propaganda on all these sites. It's just like they all like are these oil company propaganda sites that publish all this anti-global warming stuff that says that global warming's a hoax, like repeatedly. And so they all drop this friggin' article at the same time, and they all link to each other for the news story or their sources. So it's like a big circular. So they never have to really give their sources to the real science or who the scientists were that did this fucking bullshit research. I'm sorry, guys. Soon debunked. You guys just got debunked. All right? So bite it, futurism.com. Show me your sources. Someone give me a link to the scientists and the articles and show me their loading ratio for the cold fusion study. Or it didn't happen. And you guys are full of shit. Sorry. It's fucking bullshit, dude. It's such fucking bullshit. They keep the shit suppressed. That's why I don't really have much hope for like what may or may not come out like on this. They said that they're going to release all. Meanwhile, these guys are trying to commercialize and market this shit. They're not going to give the goods away. They want the goods for themselves, and they want to develop a space company to develop this warp drives and these metamaterials and do all this stuff. But they need to basically drop this bomb to the public to like get the support for it, to get the funding, to get it all to go through. And that's what they're ramping up to do with this. That's what this is all about. Sorry, I jumped back and forth to there and doing the news, but it's true. They're trying to capitalize off this information. These guys are opportunists, and they want to make money. They want to like make a name for themselves, and they want to make. That's what they're trying to do with all this, bro. Like straight up. Anyways, meanwhile, I wanted to introduce you guys to and show you guys some of the experiments that we are doing. No, this isn't it. This is it. That's not it. This is it. So I want you guys to go to this channel right here and subscribe and check it out for the experiments that we're setting up. And dude, I've been slacking on my studies recently too. I've been slacking on all my like this is like extracurricular work to me at this point. I like do so much work. I'm like so busy just working all the time that I barely have time for this anymore. But I make time, guys, when I can. Like right now, I'm not going out on a Friday night. I'm hanging out with you and dropping information because that's what I do and that's what I'm good at. So anyways, we did some experiments finally. There's going to be many more. We got a Podkletnov experiment coming, and we're going to sell kits with the superconductor discs so people can do their own Podkletnov experiments. That'd be real fucking cool. But so this is the coolest one so far. We wrapped this thing good in insulating material to make sure that there was no leakage of ion wind in the magnetic field, and then he did a smoke trail over it. He put an incense stick and blew incense over it just to see if there was any kind of like anomalous ion wind effects that we can see that might be moving this thing through ion wind. And I don't know if it's the air is not still enough in here, but it's really hard to tell any kind of discern anything distinguishable from background, you know. But I don't see really this thing moving much. Either, you know. In any case, this is a very poor warp drive that has failed so far for the Biefeld-Brown test to be much of anything super exciting for propulsion ideas at this point. But there it is, folks. So it's kind of producing a thrust, but not really like shooting off a huge ion wind. So there's got to be some other explanation for the thrust than ion wind. But really, it's not that much thrust. It's not a lot of thrust. So this is the new gravitator setup. It just looks like some copper plates with some big glass dielectric plates and some glued together with some dielectric grease or silicone, it looks like. These don't have a lot of use, but yeah, this is the warp drive laboratory that I need to go visit at some point and bring some of my stuff down, because I seem to think that this that the effect that we're getting is based on polariton phonon resonance, and you know, basically a mini. If we want to create a warp drive, a real working, powerful warp drive that produces a lot of thrust, we need to really build a metamaterial or something as close to it as we can get on a budget. So I have some ideas for how to do that, and it's called polishing glass super smooth, and then do what's called spin coat, sputter layering, and atomically thin layers. So I'm trying to set this up now and kind of build this a way to do this, set up this, build this experiment, and then we're going to do this experiment kind of, I need to put like a whole video together just to show people what we did and how we could do it, so that other people could kind of help us out. And we're trying to get like actually a group started on WhatsApp, and you know, have a whole communication network going for this warp drive thing. So if you guys are interested in joining, and we're trying to, like, you know, recruit some really interesting people for our own, because if these guys are going to build their own thing with this technology and go off their own way, there's no reason that the public or someone else can't do it, you know. Or I'm at least going to I'm at least going to form a group to basically to watch and vet and verify all these disclosures and everything that's going on. The same way I did with like the last mainstream thing with like Jesse Ventura's show there, where I was trying to like follow every episode and do like a whole analysis and review on it. So I'm hoping I can do some stuff like that. Where we, American Antigravity is still kicking. They still got a lot of cool stuff, and they still got a lot of good. They still done a lot of these experiments themselves, you know. We just wanted to kind of build our own and try them out ourselves, because it's like, how do you trust, you know, who do you know, they're all, a lot of their stuff was secondhand like stuff. It's not, Tim Ventura is the guy who runs American Antigravity, but he didn't do all those experiments on that website himself. A lot of those stuff were like people that he knew, like just sending him shit. So it's like, you know, who knows? I don't know. Yeah, man, this is like, I don't know, this is the way to go. I really think we need to get like, I want to get something together and do, well, I'm going to keep doing these experiments, and I think we're hot on the trail of the real science of what this is, but I want to like show how all these effects are related, and then I want to break down the real science involved, like the Biefeld-Brown effect, the Podkletnov effect, all these different so-called anti-gravity effects that Boeing's been putting research into and studying, and all these other companies have been putting tons of research. Lockheed Martin and Skunkworks have been like putting tons of research into. They put tons of research into Biefeld-Brown effect back in the day. There were tons of companies invested in putting money into Biefeld. You know, Thomas Townsend Brown and his company. Back in the day, Borderland Associates was the name of his company. So yeah, you need to, if you do your research into that, like, there's some people think that we had warp drives back, and you know, we had this stuff figured out like way back when, years ago, and that or at least we had some inkling on it. I don't think we had the science figured out, because we're just now like, you don't find any papers on, you know, metamaterials, quasicrystals, polaritons, and phonon exciton states, or any of that stuff before like 2004. Really, like you don't like, that's when all the scientific papers started coming out with it. So sometime after the year 2000 is like when science really started coming out, that we still, I mean, there might have been back in the 90s, like a few people that were like sought out, that they had like, you know, I think that's what happened, that, you know, a few of these guys like Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff were weeded out of the group, and they were given access to like some really, you know, inside stuff, and that they figured out some of this stuff kind of like parallel or ahead of like the rest of the scientific community, but also like with them, because it's like all this, you see all this stuff on polaritons that has come out. I mean, look at the dates on all this stuff, but like it's tons of really key stuff. Read any of these papers and like the applications for any of this stuff, you'll be like, holy crap, interfacial layers. So thin film silicone solar cells, so solar panels you can make out of this stuff, because it's like optimal ways of trapping light and converting the energy. You know, it's 100% impedance match. But there's tons of cool stuff about crystals and different types of crystals and metamaterials and dielectric materials and what they can do. Yeah, a dielectric, like an example is glass. We use glass for the dielectric in our capacitor in those experiments, and all dielectrics are clear at certain frequencies, you know, and it's good to find ones that are clear at all frequencies, like a super, you know, metamaterial. That'd be awesome. In any case, yeah, this stuff is beyond it, man. I wish I could. Yeah, I would love to find a job working on this stuff, but yeah, we're again here in 2020, even next year in 2020, after these, like when these revelations are really being made and hitting hard with people. if that's what's going to go on. I don't know what's happening with this. If it's going to be used as a, my fear is that it's going to be used as a fake thing with the fake, like they're going to fake something and use it to pass something, or I wonder sometimes War of the Worlds type shit. I don't think people would be the same to fall for it anymore. But it's like not enough people know about that or would really know how to react if it like we're really like fully going down, like with all the media channels cooperation, like a big echo chamber of just everyone promoting this idea and saying that like, oh, we were being like under attack and aliens are really here, and if what that would do, man. Think about it. I don't know, but we're about to find out. We're in for a crazy ride. What's going to happen in the next couple months to a year, because who knows what these revelations could bring and what they're gonna do. But in the meantime, I got distracted kind of, I feel, with this meteorite thing. I'm not sure what to make of it anymore. I'm viewing it right now as just a temporary distraction from my real quest, which it needs to be this anti-gravity stuff. I wanted to show you guys, this is an interesting thing that we came across or was brought up in the group that I had never seen before, and it's very rare that I find something about related to anti-gravity, someone talking about this technologies and science that I haven't really heard of or dug into before. So I was interested when I saw this, and I think there's a lot of interesting ideas that need to be tried. There's some experiments in here that we've thought of. People in my group have thought of doing already, and they thought this was very interesting. Basically, this guy wrote a whole book. It's, I guess, $15 for the book. This Alzofon, F.E. Alzofon guy. He worked for Boeing Aerospace, and I guess he was involved in some of these projects or something. He wrote this whole book on how to get the technology, how to form the group, how to get the funding, how to put it together, and how to all the pitfalls. Because I guess he tried to do it and did everything wrong, and then wrote the book about it to share all his experience. Which I think is a real interesting thing. So I haven't ordered the book yet, but I got to pay some bills and stuff. But once I get some money coming in, I'm gonna order this book, and once I have some time to actually sit down, I'm gonna read it, and I think this would be a real cool thing to dig into, because there's tons of experiments that need to be done and checked and verified. Even if they come out and drop all the real shit, it still needs to be checked. It still needs to be verified. It still needs to be run the course of real science, and there needs to be people promoting the scientific community to do it and engaging it and being part of it. And so that's kind of what we want to do in the network. We want to put together. Anyways, I wanted to run this idea behind the people in the audience. I haven't really been reading the comments. I'd love to. I wish I had someone who could, read it for me. I would get too distracted and not be able to put on a very entertaining show if I were to sit here and read people's comments. And I've learned my lesson with doing that. But I want to know what people thought about Alien Con. If I got a booth at Alien Con and I went to Alien Con out in California, out in LA, if people would be interested in coming out there to see me. I want to basically put a booth together and show off the experiments and put posters up and talk handouts and talk about warp drive technology, talk about metamaterials and polaritons, talk about all this technology that's going to drop on the Discovery Channel and all this stuff before they can drop it, and I'm gonna kind of that's kind of the spoiler I'm putting out now. That's why I put that in the title, because I'm trying to do a spoiler and tell people all the stuff that they could possibly be sharing for information on this to the Stars Academy, despite what we've already seen on Joe Rogan with when Tom DeLonge went on Joe Rogan and he's like, well, show us the goods, and he's like, well, here, see this fake TR3B video and watch it like this bubble appear around it. It was totally CGI, like totally like fake. It was like I was watching a bad movie, and Joe Rogan even said it. But anyways, yeah, I hope it's better than that. Like I've seen a lot of hype from this group and a lot of you know, nonsense, and just they want a commercial. You know, I just see it going a bunch of different ways, but none of them are really good or positive. So we'll see, but we'll see. We'll watch and see it run its course and see what's going on with it. You know, let's see what kind of how they edit it down to like really get this. They're trying to sell their company and this technology, trying to promote what, but um, oh, the Searle effect generator. I don't know, dude. It seems like a fancy bunch of magnets. He hasn't shown like I haven't seen like. I'd love for Jason and Jason Verbs to be like, yo, let's go out there and like come see this thing fly, or like John Searle had pictures published of this friggin' disc floating in the air that he built in the backyard with limited funding back in the 50s or something, right? So if he could do it back then, and why isn't he doing it now? Now that they've had funding, had funding, they bought all kinds of equipment, they've been doing all kinds of stuff, they've been putting this thing together, and like if he could do it back then and said like he could do it and it was real, like then why can't he do it now? Like why isn't it being done? Why hasn't it been done? Like what's the problem? What's the issue? And like why does he need 9 hours to speak at Tesla Tech? Like he requested 9 hours. That's like a full day of like just watching this dude talk. Like to give like that's what he said he needed to explain his theory. Like and like that's why like I don't know, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it. That's the Feynman way of looking at things in science, and that's the way I've always looked at science. And I found it to be a real fucking awesome way of looking at shit, because it helped. Heck, Feynman was the man at like figuring stuff out. He's a great teacher to have, and a great person to channel. When you're doing your investigations or your thought processes. You know what I mean? So I channel Feynman all the time, dude. Richard Feynman. But yeah, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it. And if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. Those two simple things. It's all you need to like live by in science, dude. You'll never go wrong. But anyways, yeah, I don't believe anyone that's been bought out or threatened, dude, because I've been posting all kinds of stuff and nobody's ever offered to buy me out, and nobody's ever threatened me. I've had people give me money before, but they tell me like I don't want this to ever, have any impact or persuasion on like how you do what you do and what you promote and what you put out. So I don't let it. I try not to let it. People want to give me money and donate to me, they can, but I've been working hard to make my own money so that I can do what little I can do on the side. But so anyways, we got some experiments coming. I want to get some polaritons going and see if that's the real key to this Bifeldt-Brown business. And I think it's the same thing going on with these spin-aligned, rotated spin-aligned superconductors, where these exotic condensates that you're creating, these exotic states in the condensate that's already a Bose-Einstein condensate when it's a superconductor in that state. And then when you're rotating it, you're creating this exotic condensate state, which affects things differently. And yeah, why wouldn't it? Tom Bearden's the worst, dude. Tom Bearden, that dude's got a group of people. Like as soon as you start talking to Tom Bearden, like he's got a group of people that start calling you up and threatening you just to make you think he's the real deal and to scare you, dude. That dude's such a fucking fraud. It's like as soon as you like talk to Tom Beard, it's like no, all of a sudden like he'll get out. He's got like a whole group of people that will start calling. He'll just give me your number, and they start calling you up and threatening you, and you know too much. You're talking to Tom. I've read all Tom's stuff, dude. Show me an experiment where scalar waves can do anything more than cancellation. All right. So why does noise cancellation headphones work? All right. Go look up the science of scalar waves and go look up the science of noise cancellation headphones and tell me why noise cancellation headphones don't blow your fucking eardrums out if scalar technology is real. Okay. All I gotta say about Tom Bearden's friggin' scalar wave technology. I like a lot of his stuff, man. He seems like he knows his shit and he knows what he's talking about, dude. But like that threatening people shit is fucking garbage, dude. Fuck him for that. Disrespect him for that. But anyways, yeah, the scalar wave technology is bullshit too. So what I don't know what Tom has really said. You know, he sounds interesting and he was cool. Like when I was, when I was like a freshman in college and like just starting to learn about physics and thinking like diving into some of the stuff and being like, oh, who's this Stan Dio guy and who's this Tom Bearden guy and like really digging into all this stuff. But like Tom Bearden pays an electric bill. Every month, he pays his electric bill. He gets a bill from National Grid, or freaking whoever his electric company is, dude, just like me. If he's got free energy, dude, and he's building free energy machines, and he knows all the secrets to free energy and worked on it for the government, and was paid to be silenced and all this and stuff. Why is he paying an electric bill? I don't know. Just go to his house and see if he gets sent an electric bill. And if he gets an electric bill, then he's full of shit. Because that's his main thing. Like the scalar wave isn't real, so otherwise noise cancellation headphones would blow your eardrums out. So what's the deal? I don't know. Anyways, Tom Bearden's, I think he's a waste of time. I think you gotta stick with a lot of real physics, but like you gotta understand where the holes are and where physics is wrong. Like it's people trying to throw Einstein completely away and be like, oh, Einstein's totally wrong. We just like let's throw it all away and create a whole new theory. I don't think that's the way to go. You know what I mean? Portal technology. Now that's interesting, dude. It's about like entangling, not just entangling states, but so I heard someone argued recently with me that all these aspect experiments and all the entanglement experiments are really just extended double slit experiments. He basically said that it's just like the extended double slit experiment, and that's all it is. And the double slit just means that light travels as a wave, and there's no real entanglement, and that entanglement isn't real. It's just there's no spooky action at a distance. It's just extended. It's just that light travels in waves. And that's what this guy said. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty. Like maybe it is. I don't know. I have to like really find something in this and look for the symmetry breaking that proves that that's not. That it can't be. And anyways. I thought it was interesting. Entanglement. I love that article on what is space time by Stephen Wolfram. What is space time really? I talked about that on some of my past podcasts and stuff, man. Theories of everything and how space time is built and the geometry of it and can we build it from a fractal puzzle and all this stuff. But the real deal is that space is polarizable, that there is vacuum particles that make up, there's particles that exist even when there's vacuum. There's something there that can be pulled apart and polarized into particles and antiparticles straight out of the vacuum using physics, using quantum mechanics. So no space is truly empty. But what is space-time really? What is space itself? And is it this? Can we think of it as like this big giant crystal, or this grid that we're just moving through? Can we think of it as this? I don't know. It's a lot to consider. This is like the deepest questions in all of like philosophy and physics and science. So it's not like something I'm going to sit here and answer for you right now. And after a long, hard day's work, when I'm tired, trying to relax. But Jesus. Any other questions? Let me just see. I got the floor. Yeah, I thought this was interesting. What else is going on? Oh yeah, Jeremy Corbell and Bob Lazar. Maybe we should talk about that. I got a whole script going. You know that? I got the ultimate debunk going, and I thought this is interesting. I'll share with people. I'll give you a back seat. But I got the whole Bob Lazar timeline starting with. I'm like sitting here going back and forth with all the information I have on Bob Lazar, and like, how do I best present it? Like, what do I do? Like, should I go with all of it? And what I'm thinking I want to do, I'm gonna launch a website. I got BobLazarDebunk.com, and I'm putting together a website on it of all the stuff that this idiot friggin' forgot to put in his film. He's a shameless opportunist, man. Like his film was trash. Like it told nothing to like anyone who's researched and knows the Bob Lazar case and the Bob Lazar story. Like it touched nothing. It didn't do anything. Like there's so many real questions. It was just like Bob defending himself. It was basically like George. He called George Knapp, got a hold of George Knapp, and George Knapp was like, "Yeah, I'll get you in touch with Bob, and we can, like, we'll you make this a pro Bob film. I'll tell you the points to hit on, and we'll work with it and make something nice, and we'll both make a lot of money from this, and we'll use it to promote other things." And George Knapp's a big funder of the To the Stars Academy, and then he did a big news story on it, like after he had stock in it, and like it's like a big circle, like it's a big club, and they're all trying to make money and work with each other. Corbell's the one that released that friggin' Nimitz footage originally, and he's like involved with all that Nimitz stuff, and I bet those guys wish they never got involved with Corbell because he's just involved with all this other Bob Lazar stuff and the Skinwalker Ranch and all this other crazy stuff. But in any case, yeah, Roswell. I don't care about that anymore. Roswell's the next big one after Bob Lazar, but I want to take down Bob Lazar, and I want to show people the real, like the polaritons and the metamaterial science, because element 115. Here we are, 30 years later, and element 115 it's not being used for any of the stuff that Bob said it was. So I want to show you actually. I have it right here already. So I want to bring this up. Here's page 66 of the May 1989 issue of Scientific American. You can see at the bottom here. Let me get a zoom in. But look down here at the bottom, right? So May 1989. If you look on the Bob Lazar timeline, this is a key thing for the Bob Lazar stuff. Anyone researching Bob Lazar, go to 1989 on the Bob Lazar timeline. Here's the link. And in 1989, in May 1989, that's when he first went on KLS TV in Silhouette using the same pseudonym Dennis. So that's right when he came out with his story, like saying that, yeah, I work at Area 51, like, it was a month after. So this was right. His last work day was April 7th. So this was like a month later. The next month, he goes out and says, you know, he didn't drop any of the science in this first interview with when he was just Dennis. He didn't really like disclose any of the real science or any of that stuff. It was only later in the Bob Lazar tapes that they released that he really went into all the stuff. He went into a little bit on it, but like it wasn't until so they identified him and interviewed him in November 10th. So you look up the timeline, all right. He needed to find the information. Was looking right around the same time he was coming out with the story, first appeared on the scene, trying to get information, trying to figure out something. He probably picked up a copy of Scientific American, that May 1989 issue, and when he opened up to page 66, there's a whole article here talking about all of elements up to 114, element 115, talks about element 115, talks about the stable isotopes synthesized unit, how they synthesize these elements. There's the particle accelerator they built and how they do it, how they detect what particles they have, you know, and these collisions. And yeah, they talks about element 114, element 115. It talks all about all the science that Bob Lazar disclosed, all the disclosures, right, that Bob Lazar made. He came right from a magazine that was published the same month that he came forward. All right, can you hear that? This May 1989 issue, all right, has all of the stuff on element 115. Here's the island of stability right here. Here's a picture of it, right in the opening picture of the article, and the closed nuclear shells and all the isotopes they've discovered. And here's 115 up here that hadn't been discovered yet at the time. They thought that there's this one, you know, element that might be completely stable, but there's nowhere. This in order for it to be completely stable, it would need to be like through the page, you know, through the top of the page. That's just like relative stability. That means it's like you know, it's 1,000 milliseconds as opposed to, you know, 46 milliseconds that it lasts for. 46 nanoseconds. You know what I mean? It's not like 40 years, 46 months, you know, 46 millennia. In any case, yeah, that element 115 stuff, dude, it's what I call really in my research for the science and trying to find the real like nuts and bolts of how UFOs work and how they fly, right? Let's look up you know, the Bob Lazar UFO sport model, right? His famous sport model that he talked all about, and this was his big promotion. The sport model, he drew it. That was like the thing that they made as part of the film, and they were reselling these with the, you know, even though it worked on element 115, it had these gravity wave amplifiers. So I don't know where the gravity wave comes from or where these amplifiers come into effect, but oh wait, I do know where they come into effect and where they came from, because he borrowed it from a guy, two guys actually that came before him, called Billy Meyer. Sorry, Billy Meyer UFO, right? So let's look at the Billy Meyer UFO. Oh, gee, that looks almost identical to Bob Lazar's sport model. In fact, there's one. Here's this one. This is Billy Meyer's drawing, and that's Bob Lazar's sport model to a T. Okay, there's a sport model right there. Like, oh, there's the sport model right here in Billy Meyer's thing right here. There's Bob Lazar's sport model, right? Same craft, maybe a little bit less windows, right? So where's the 3 gravity drums. Well, it's there. You can kind of see these balls on the bottom that are kind of like these things. You know, this one has definitely 3 of them. You know, all these pictures were produced or taken back in the 1970s and 80s. You know, this was 1975. In fact, this is Billy Meyer's picture on Mulder's wall with the "I Want to Believe" poster and X-Files, with that same sport model on the background. And what better pseudonym for the people that really defend Bob Lazar that don't look at like the evidence, so like just really trying to like understand the story and look at the case evidence, and they're just like, oh, you're a debunker, you work for the government or this or that. It's like, no, I'm just trying to find like real anti-gravity technology. And this is what I call unobtainium. Unobtainium is basically refers to any it's a thought experiment. It's any fictional, extremely rare, costly, or impossible material. So that's all as Bob Lazar's article. Oh, we need a particle accelerator the size of the solar system to create this isotope element 115. You know, that's like, okay. So we need to be an advanced alien civilization and build a particle accelerator the size of the solar system in order to create this element 115. Jesus. So there's not an easier way. You know, there's no easier way. It's basically, I call it unobtainium. Yeah, no, it's unobtainium. It's the perfect word for it, guys. And I just think it's so easy to see through that Bob Lazar copied this stuff from people that came before him, including a guy named Adamski. George Adamski, UFO. All right, and the George Adamski UFO. This was actually a German surgical light. It's 3 light bulbs in one of those dentist lamps. It's you know, when you go to the dentist, this is the lamp that's in your face. He probably went and had surgery, and like, you know, he took this lamp and took all kinds of pictures of it, and this is his UFO. It turned into his UFO with these 3 balls underneath that became the gravity wave amplifiers in his model, strangely enough. So Bob Lazar didn't get these disclosures or these revelations and informations from working at, you know, a top secret project that he was hired on without a real degree from MIT. If he was certainly a dupe, you know, and given false information and set free if he worked there at all. From my research, I can't see that, you know, he only worked there for like less than 2 weeks, or, you know, 2 weeks total time that he worked there in total. It's ridiculous. But anyways, he copied this Adamski UFO with the 3 balls, and Adamski had all these explanations of the propulsion system, which are remarkably similar to what Bob Lazar describes, and most certainly where Bob Lazar took or copied the information from, as I showed that one clip of where Gene Huff admits that John Lear, him and Bob bought all of John Lear's UFO stuff off him in exchange for a home appraisal, and that Gene Huff and Bob were really good friends, and they actually knew George Knapp. I think before that story ever came out, because KLAS actually covered the Desert Blast Festival. There's an old video clip of KLAS with George Knapp covering the Desert Blast Festival. And he doesn't show Bob Lazar at all, but if you go and watch the Desert Blast Festival, Bob Lazar was one of the organizers of the Desert Blast Festival. He's like one of the guys that put it together. And if you watch any of the other news articles on it. They show Bob Lazar for a second, I think, there in the opening scene. I think that was Bob Lazar in that thing. He's one of the organizers that put the event on, but they don't actually interview him or talk to him in this thing. But this was before the Bob Lazar came in 1989 and Dennis and Bob Lazar coming out. You know what I mean? It's this whole festival where they go and shoot cannons off and shoot rockets and fireworks and all kinds of stuff. And there's George Knapp doing the special on it, going out there and talking. And I think that might even be Gene Huff, no? She's almost looked like him. Fat slob. Gene Huff used to hang out with Bob Lazar because Bob Lazar ran the Honeysuckle Ranch, which was a brothel in Las Vegas. Literally the pimp daddy of ufology, as I like to call him. You can look this up. He was arrested and charged with pandering in Las Vegas, a prostitution ring, until he came out with this, big Bob Lazar story. Sold a bunch of copies of the Bob Lazar tapes. Made a shitload of money on that. Probably, stayed out the term of his probation and started up, took all his money and invested it into a company called United Nuclear. United Nuclear is Bob Lazar's company, and geez. So literally, they made a lot of their money actually selling as an illegal laboratory supplier of lab equipment, selling like chemistry and lab supplies that you can't really get. You're not really that they're tracked and regulated by the federal authorities for different reasons, and he was bypassing those laws and a lot of that stuff, and that's what got him kicked out of Las Vegas and why he moved to Michigan, where they are now, because of the laws on selling the glassware and stuff. He was literally probably one of the largest glassware suppliers for the methamphetamine manufacturer business in the Midwest during the 90s, and it's ridiculous. It's true. Like, people don't know this stuff, but it's like Bob Lazar is like not a good person, dude. Like, they tell me like, oh, you're an asshole. Why are you trying to destroy Bob Lazar? Like, I'm not trying to destroy any. Like, well, I'm not trying to. Like, I'm just doing research and finding out who this guy is for people and like showing the information about him and his past, dude. He stole all his information from Billy Meyer and George Adamski because John Lear gave it to him. And then he borrowed the rest of it from that article I just showed you with the element 115, the stability, the stable isotopes and all the element 115 stuff, right? Perfect story. You probably read that article. It was like, oh, this stuff's not going to be discovered for friggin' 20 years. I'll have 20 years that I can sell this story. And then even after it, I can just claim that they didn't discover the right isotope. There's all these different isotopes of it, that it could be. It's all I have to do. It's the perfect lie. He jumped right on it. You know what I mean? And Jeremy Corbell doesn't ask any questions, like, to get really dig it. Like, he had the opportunity to dig into this guy and like really nail him, and he failed. And I just respect him for that, man. And I don't think anyone should pay him any mind. I think people should deliberately go out and expose this motherfucker. Help me expose these people, man. They're fucking bad people. They're not nice people. Bob Lazar, literally like a meth dealer, pretty much, with United Nuclear, selling all that glassware and glass supplies, dude. And that's why the feds raided him, even though Jeremy Corbell, in the opening thing, he's like, oh, this raid, and it was it made it like it was about element 115 in the whole film, like that was like this whole big underlying theme in the film is that Bob Lazar got raided by the FBI and they came looking for his element 115, and no, they're trying to keep, they were actually, apparently, according to we got the actual documents, and they were looking for records of cleaning agents that were ordered by this guy who murdered his wife ordered some stuff. They wanted to keep track of his sales history, and he was being investigated for a murder or something of his wife, and he was a customer of United Nuclear. Another, they seem to attract these type of people because, you know, it's like I don't know, it's just one of those havens for, you know, scumbags, I guess. That's why Jeremy Corbell's over there. I heard that Jeremy Corbell, you know, how John Lear released recently that he had, like, on Kerry Cassidy did this whole Project Camelot interview, and he said that that the CIA was giving him large doses of Oxycontin and methamphetamines for the past, you know, 10 years, past decade. Like, he's been on high doses of speed and Oxycontin. And he said that the CIA was giving it to him. He literally said that. You can look this up. It's at the end of, like, this Project Camelot interview. It's freaking the craziest thing ever. And I heard that Jeremy Corbell used to sleep on John Lear's floor and smoke meth and steal his Oxycontin pills when he used to live with John Lear for like a number of years. That's what I heard about him. So this Jeremy Corbell guy is, you know, I hope he's rolling. He seems like he's rolling the dough now, and he's like, you know, putting on a show and riding down like a convertible with these guys, with George Knapp and everyone at that parade the other month, man. But these guys are not like, they're not a bunch of good people, if you had any idea. So I want to see this. George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. Those pieces of shit. Guys selling their fake stories and stuff. I want to show you this. They're all compromised, dude. Here they are. Look at them with the Nimitz guy, dude. There's David Fravor, and I think that's Richard Dolan driving the Cadillac down the street. I don't know who these kids are, but they got Jeremy Corbell and David Fravor, and I think that's George Knapp in a follow-up car. I don't know. Dude, it's just like it's silly, dude. An alien parade. Some kind of alien parade, dude. There's like 4 people watching. Anyways, I thought that was funny, and I wanted to share some interesting inside information on all this stuff, dude. This is UFO research taken to the extreme, bro. I'm into UFOs like you guys don't even fucking know. Like, talk about UFOs, my buddy's like, oh yeah, you see like the news, like, man, you want to know my opinion on this shit? Do you really want to know? I'll sit down and like share some stuff with you guys, because I've been in this game a long time, and I know the right rocks to look under, and I know the gatekeepers, and I know the shot callers, and I know my way around this freaking bullshit. Trying to teach you youngins. But yo, what do you think about me going to Alien Con, dude? How about that, dude? Alien Con. Imagine if I showed up there and just had a debunking booth, dude. Nah, I can't call it a debunking booth, and I don't want to just do debunking. That'll be a waste of my time. I want to focus on the technology, dude. I want to sell I want to get like people to stop front. Like, it's got to be worth it. It's like $800 to rent a booth, dude, for this at Alien Con, Los Angeles, dude. So, but that would be cool if you guys all went and I could see people there. That would be badass, dude. I would love to like go there and just stop for like just see shit just erupt, dude. Have a fucking crowd of people around me and getting like a big ass argument, and like people force Jeremy Corbell to come over to my friggin' booth or something, dude. Like, just get into it. Oh man, it would be epic. The things that could happen. I don't know. I'm thinking I might go, dude. I don't know. I might get kicked out before I even get in, dude. Nah, it wouldn't be a debunking booth, dude. It would be like I want to do like that. I want to go and set up that warp drive booth and show off the warp drive experiments and just like have like a bunch of handouts on. I want to have a page full of papers and stuff and like where people can take pictures of the papers and like read more information. I want to have like the pod clip knob experiment, like all the experiments we plan to do, all the ones that we have for like the future of this company, like where we want to go with it and how we want to go about doing it and all the metamaterials stuff. I want to work with Metamaterials Incorporated is actually up in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. It's about it's a couple miles. I don't know, it's close enough to me. It's on the East Coast. I don't know. It's up in Canada. I could probably go there. I want to go and take a tour up there to the factory and start working with some of those guys on building experimental apparatuses and setups to start experimenting with some of these exotic condensates and the polariton lasers and polariton effects and polariton exciton states and all this cool stuff, and really get into the research and the science of it with some people that know their shit and know what the hell they're talking about and can explain it probably 20 times better than I could. And that's what I think. Yeah, I should just keep doing videos calling out the bullshit cancer in the UFO field and really like going after it, because it needs to be cut off and severed, because there's these tumors that have just grown and taken over the host completely. And it's disgusting what's happening. It needs to all be destroyed and brought and redone again. I think that the only way to do that is with the technology and really showing people like we got something and we're going after like the real science and the core physics and stuff and making breakthroughs. So yeah, dude, Alien Con, dude, let me know, dude. I don't think I would get kicked out because I wouldn't like troll. I wouldn't just go there to troll people, like unless they came up to me and started trying to troll me, they would get trolled hard. So I'd let people come to me, I think, if they found out I was there and it started like getting big or something. But so I might go for 2 days. If I'm gonna rent a booth, I'm gonna go make sure I get my money's worth and stuff. But yeah, I want to. I don't think they'd kick me out if I paid all that money. It's like $800 to rent the booth and everything. So I don't think they'd kick me out if I paid the money. They at the end of the day, they just want their money. And if I'm there and attracting crowds and causing a ruckus, it's attracting people and it's creating a. They're gonna want me there because they're gonna be like they're gonna know that there's probably 20 people that showed up just because they knew I was going, that they want to see me go and hang out and talk, get into it. So that'd be cool. Yeah, I'm doing the course with the research, and that's all I want to do, guys. Anyways, it's getting I'm getting into it a little bit over. I talked about everything that I wanted to show and check out these experiments on my boys on our Falcon space program site. I'm going to subscribe right now and ring that bell. You should do the same on my channel just to keep in touch. I don't know what's going on with my viewership and my channel, but it's really, things have fallen apart lately. But hey, guys, I got so much more I can share, man. I like literally, I cannot wait for this show to start coming out on the History Channel, because I'm gonna get amped. Like every week, I'm gonna get amped to do another video and be like, "Yo, here's another." Like we're gonna do like a watch party, where I'll just sit and watch like all those episodes with friggin' Tom DeLonge's group there, and we'll just. We'll do a watch party. I'll literally sit there and watch it and be like, all right, well, hold up, pause right there. Let's go, and I'll just, yes, dude. I really should expose all the fake people in ufology. It would take so much time, though, literally, and then some of it, really, I'm going to sit there and start making videos proving Tyler wrong, like Secure Team 10. You know how many videos I have to do to, start debunking all his bullshit? And what's the point? Like a third grader can watch those videos and know that it's not real. Like it's only the people of the really 90 IQ and below, really. And I ain't trying to like appeal to that crowd because that's not who my audience is, dude. All my audience are like real skeptical people into real stuff. But oh yeah, before I end this, I do want to talk a little bit about the meteorite because I haven't really done much with it, and more with it. We're still waiting on the isotope test. That's the big teller. That's the big thing. We either need a centrifuge or someone with an XLR, dude. So if you know someone who can do isotope tests on this meteorite, please contact me, inbox me, thealienscientist@gmail.com. Thealienscientist, one word, @gmail.com. And definitely get in touch with me if I got some samples of that meteorite still. I'm not going to send them back until this woman, I already sent her like money and trying to help her out because she's in this desperate situation, and like I tried getting her more money, but this thing just sounds like a scam. When everyone told me like that sounds like a scam, no, don't give her nothing. Like I believed in her and I gave her $200 just because of that. But then I come to find out like there's all this information that she's given. I can't trust her. Like, and she's crazy on top of it, like swearing at me and flipping out that I'm not doing things fast enough. I'm like, lady, it's finals. Like every university, you could try to get a hold of any person at a university right now, and they're all fucking busy until like the end, like until like June 1st. Like sorry, like tomorrow, like next week, it's Friday now. Next week, like you'll be able to find someone. I could probably find someone next week to do this, but I don't know. I'm gonna look around and try to find someone who can do it for me. But yeah, things have been busy, and she doesn't understand that. She flipped out on me, and then I come to find out like there's no history of origin of where this thing was found. Like she won't tell me the exact location that she got it because she's afraid that the property that she found it on, though, like the people who own it will go after her. So there's a discrepancy whether she actually even owns this meteorite or if she's going to end up with the ownership of this meteorite if it ends up being worth money or worth anything. So there's that. There's also the issue that's apparently she put pieces of it or put the whole thing in a kiln and melted it. So there's metallurgical damage, like annealing that's been done to the metallurgical structure of it. So it's now a pseudo meteorite. It's not even so it's lost a lot of its value through that. It's also been hacked up quite a bit. This piece you can't really see it as much, but there's all kinds of hacks and chunks that have been taken out of the thing, and damage that's been done to it, and I don't know. I lost all trust with that with the woman after like everything that she went through and flipping out on me and calling me up and saying I'm not working fast enough, and my friend died. And I was going through like all kinds of stuff that I'm doing. Like I gave her $200 I didn't have, and I'm working my ass off to try and make money. And this thing's I doubt I'm gonna make anything off this either way. I don't know like what's going on with it. So like I don't have much faith in this as being something that could turn into a lot of money. Sort of cutting it up and selling it as jewelry at this point. That's about all you could do with it. I told her, I don't know who's gonna buy that much and this thing, like, which I still have some pieces. I might cut a couple pieces up. I wanted to make at least one or two pieces of jewelry just for myself out of the thing, just as a cool keepsake and memorabilia to have it. And as a reward for my time of all the work I've done and promoting and putting into this thing. And all the tests that we did so far. But we're still waiting on like the full XLR and then the isotope ratio to put together like a paper for an isotope ratio and like put a whole paper together to basically authenticating this thing as what it is. But so far it's like been like, oh, it doesn't match anything known and it's weird. And apparently she washed the thing down and scrubbed it with acid to clean up the surface of it, and that eroded the fusion crust off it, and that's why it doesn't have like a fusion crust anymore. And there's all kinds of stuff that's shady as fuck. I don't even know if the pieces she sent me are from that rock. It's like there's no chain of custody. It's just it's just a complete mess. So it's like I think it's a distraction, especially with what it's turned into at this point. I'm going to keep it on the back burner and let the experts who've gotten involved so far, we're at meteorite experts. I've learned a lot about meteorites in the process, and I thought it was an interesting excursion, but it's a waste. I feel like it's more of a distraction than anything at this point, and it's not like something that I'm really going to get rewards from, especially not from someone who's so uncooperative as that woman, and just literally she just like, oh, you're not going fast enough, so I'm like dumping you, and I'm going to this next person. I'm trying to find someone else from NASA now who's gonna help me. And I'm just like shaking my head. I'm like, well, what happens when this person doesn't help you fast enough, or they don't give you results fast enough, or you flip out on them, or the next thing happens, like, and I don't know. It's just I don't like dealing with people like that. I don't like dealing with any of that. So I just said, drop it. Don't. And I'm not talking to her ever again. I don't care. Like, if that thing's worth $1 billion, I don't care. Like, you can send me the money that I sent you and pay me back, and I'll send you the pieces back after, you know, what's left of it. And yeah, it just sounds like bullshit, artists. It just sounds like bullshit, and a waste of time. And I'm not doing it anymore. And I don't care. And call me all they want, but like, I'm not involved with it, dude. It's your bag now. It's in your court, and I've stated my piece. And you can send me my money back that I sent you, and I'll send you the pieces back, what's left of it that I didn't, and you can shove the rock up your ass. I did tell her. I more or less, I did exact tell her that in those exact words. Shove that rock where, where. All set, dude, because if we get we get this technology going, and we get this stuff going, I don't need no rocks. I'm going to be a billionaire 20 times over with selling warp drives and building, well, all the stuff we can do once we build warp drives and start building a space program and going to space, and all the space industry and technology and companies that are going to erupt around this. And I won't be doing, I'll be able to quit my day job and do this full time, like I've always dreamed of. In any case, yeah, that lady's a nutbag, and she can lick my nutbag. And no other sense of words of the term. Not sorry, not sorry. Not sorry at all. All right? Don't fuck with me. I'm the real deal. And, if it's a meteorite, it's a meteorite. I told you I'd look into it, but it's going to be, it's going to be on my time and the people that I have, my team's time. And when it starts getting crazy like that, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that nonsense. So, all right, guys, definitely come and check out the site. And yeah, I think yeah, that I don't know. And the whole thing with that other science guy that was saying it was these fibers, and they thought it was extraterrestrial and like these other things. And I was looking up, and now they think it's like some kind of super rare meteorite from some other solar system and stuff. So that's why I was looking up these things about these 3.3 billion year old rocks from these meteorites from space. And I'm reading about these what are called Carbonado diamonds that appear in some of these, and Carbonados are like super rare. That's definitely proof that it's like some crazy meteorite. But this, unfortunately, I've not found any Carbonados yet. So, haven't found any diamonds. Found some interesting things, crystals and other stuff. What look like those olivine tracks, which look like what are left by cosmic rays. Those appear in a lot of meteorites. I'll show you guys those. These are under the microscope, and they almost look like tracks from cosmic rays. If this thing was in space for long periods of time, it's really hard to produce this kind of stuff on Earth. To get that kind of you need some high energy cosmic rays. So this thing maybe was forged in a supernova. But anyways, I'll let the experts who are more into that take it from here, because I'm just a pocket researcher, really. I'm good at what I do, and I have a degree in physics, and I wanted to pursue that, but I'm not a PhD. I didn't specialize in anything. I didn't stick with it, and I haven't worked in that industry, in that field, like extensively, just doing research and experiments. I'm more of do this as a hobby for the past, 25 years. But yeah, it looks like there's a lot of things she did to make false positives in that meteorite, and that's why I just dropped it. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I don't even know that it's your meteorite, or that these pieces you sent me are from that rock or from whatever. So yeah, it is what it is, dude. I gotta go. I'm tired. I want to go and watch some stupid videos on some dumb shit. Just take my mind off of everything and relax. And I'll pick this up again the next time I can find time to get on and give a open-hearted data dump live off the cuff like that, huh? Where else? I'd love to see some of these other people do live streams like this, man, and really get into stuff. I get so bored, like, or they say something, and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about all the time. I just can't stand it. I would love to find people that know, like, can correct me, and I love it when there's some guy on saying, oh, you're wrong about this, or knows more about something than I know, and is sharing information, man. It'd be great to get some guests on like that, and some people to get on as guests and start doing more interviews and more stuff like that. I want to reach out more, man. Nobody reaches out to me. I feel like I'm in a black hole, isolated by YouTube censorship and shadow bans. You know what I mean? That's crazy. It's craziness, bro. I think they know what we're up to. I think they know about, like, all the stuff that we're doing, and they don't want it. Obviously, $10 billion. They spent $10 million to prove that cold fusion wasn't real. To redo the same experiments wrong that they did in MIT and Caltech did, where they didn't get the loading and the PD ratio high enough. And they don't show anything for data or results, just a circular news thing to a couple websites and stuff that all link to each other. Bullshit. Cold fusion is definitely real. They're not mismeasuring energy. Scientists aren't crazy. Go to some of the colloquiums. Come to the next cold fusion colloquium if you really want to debunk it. Like, meet these people. Tell them what fools they are, and yeah, that's the thing, is like, how do you get it to produce like power? Because if you can just boil water, make steam, you can make a power plant, right? So that's all you really need to do, is find a way to get cold fusion to boil water. If you can create something hot enough to boil water and create heat where you can consistently boil water, you can create a power plant. Just hook up a wind turbine, like a steam turbine. Steam turbine runs on steam. You boil water, create steam, and then you create electricity from there. And that's free energy. Dream energy source. Just turning mass and energy. Literally turn the oceans into bottomless fuel tanks. So much energy. There's enough energy to power New York City in a gallon of seawater for like a year. It's crazy. But anyways, yeah, Alien Con. I'm thinking about going. It's at the end of June, right? When is it? June, yeah. Third week in June. Right in the middle of the damn week, huh? Some bitch. Yeah. Oh wait, I'm looking at May. Oh, nice. Yeah, I could probably go 22nd and 23rd. I could fly out like Friday, because I'm taking that week off to do some other work and other projects. So yeah, let's figure it out, man. I want to do this. All right, guys. I'm going to bed. Peace out. Fission? Yeah, it works, dude, but it's so dirty, man. Look at Chernobyl or Fukushima. Like, those disasters are so expensive, they'll never be cleaned up. There's no amount of money you could. They're impossible to insure, and they don't, like, it's not worth the power that you put out with how much it costs just to clean up the Chernobyl and Fukushima alone. It's not worth all the like energy output that all the fission power plants have put out since history, dude. It's not worth it. Think about it, bro. For the long-term effects of what we're doing to our fucking planet with the nuclear waste. Unless we can find a fusion process where we can break down that nuclear waste and get rid of it. Because, dude, that, like, you guys know about the dome in the Pacific, dude? Yeah, this thing's big. I don't know, it's been all over the news recently and stuff, but yeah, definitely look this up. It's starting to crack. This is a big concrete dome. They basically dumped, they took all, like, the waste from all the nukes that they tested out in the Marshall Islands at all these nuke test sites, and then they brought it all here to this dome, and they dumped it all here. And the radiation here is, like, insane, dude. It's like a whole bunch of nukes. The ground zero remains were all dumped here, and then they poured, like, concrete over the whole top of it, and now it's starting to crack, and seawater's, like, leaking into it and shit. It's nuts. It's no good. In any case, yeah. I'm going to bed. Peace out, guys. Good night.